What's up everyone, DPX here. Welcome to another movie review. Today I'm reviewing Blue Beetle. Before we get started, you know what to do. Should I subscribe to hit bell, leave a comment, or I will just infect you. Now, what was I thinking of Blue Beetle going in? Well, it was a movie that I was pretty excited for. For one, it's I don't know too much about Blue Beetle, but I mainly know him from Injustice. And he was one of my favorite characters in Injustice too, so I mean that's something. And I was pretty excited because they got Xolo Mardueña, I think his name. That's how you say his name. And he's like the heart and soul of Cobra Kai, like one of my favorite shows. So I was really happy to see someone from that show get more work. But it was originally like being just dumped on HBO Max. But then apparently Warner Brothers had confidence in this movie and thought it was good enough to be put into theaters. But the trailers they hinted at sort of a generic superhero movie. So what do I think of Blue Beetle? I really enjoyed it. For one, Xolo is great in this role. He plays a very different character as he does in Cobra Kai. So, but he has the same he's not a kid necessarily in this movie, but he has sort of the same kind of energy of because he just graduated college in this movie, so he has the same sort of energy as a kid, a young, a teenager is what I mean. And the family dynamic is really cool. It is a little derivative, and I'll get into that later on. But it is somewhat refreshing to see there's a bunch of superhero movies that have this family dynamic, but the hero has to keep their superhero alter ego away, then keep it hidden from their family. But this one, on the offset, the family knows about Jaime turning into Blue Beetle. I gotta say, that transformation is fucking that transformation, the scene where he transforms into Blue Beetle, in the trailers it's kind of presented yeah, whatever, but in the movie, that's a scene right out of a horror movie. If this happened right in front of me to one of my family members, I'd be shitting my pants. I'd probably piss myself. But again, like I said, you get a nice family dynamic. They know, like I said, they know from the outset that he is Jaime Reyes, or what? He is Blue Beetle, and you get the thing where it's with Jaime, it's you mess with me, you mess with my family, and the family gets involved, sort of, and especially in the finale of the movie, is very entertaining. There's also a lot of standouts in the movie. You get Xolo, like I mentioned, but also George Lopez is in the movie as as Jaime's uncle, and he's great. He's honestly a standout, and I feel at first when he first showed up, I was a little worried that he was gonna get a little annoying. Nah, he didn't get annoying. Whenever he was on screen, it was always kind of just yeah. They also do some interesting things with one of the villains. I watched Jeremy Johns' review, and he said that the guy almost looks like he's from Cyberpunk, so I'm just gonna refer to him as that because I actually don't really know his name. So the Cyberpunk villain, they did something with him. I don't want to get into it, and I'll get into my issue with the villains later. They did something with him, and I don't want to get into it necessarily, into spoilers, but I thought it was a very interesting thing to do, and it kind of something comes full circle with him, and I think it was very well done. As for my issues with the movie, for one, and you hear this a lot, you've heard this a lot in the reviews for this movie, but the movie's pretty derivative. It's pretty generic. It's very reminiscent of, it has aspects of Iron Man, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, of Shazam, Miss Marvel. It's got all that. And on the one hand, I think that actually is really refreshing. You know, you get a whole, because every comic book movie now is about the end of the world, you know. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was about it was Kang taking over the world and shit. Even Shazam, you know, that movie, even though it's kind of smaller, it's still about these gods, you know, kind of trying to take over the world as well. You know, Flash was about the multiverse and how it, like, can kill the universe or whatever. You know, even Spider-Verse, which did this thing perfectly, was still a pretty big movie when it comes to, like, you know, scale and what it was about and all that. You know, I kind of like how, you know, it is refreshing to have a movie that's just back to basics, you know, and they don't try to do the world building and stuff like that. They don't do that. So I think that's really cool, but at the same, it's very derivative. Also, I didn't mention this in the good. I feel like they did a good job kind of like purposely being vague over whether or not does this movie take place in the DCEU or does this movie take place in James Gunn's DCU. Because James Gunn did say, like, Blue Beetle is the first hero of the DCU, but Superman Legacy is going to be the first movie of the I don't understand what that fucking means at all. I don't know. I sure hope. Because I want to see Sholo come back as Blue Beetle, and I want to see more of this family as well. I would like to see them in the new DCU, and, you know, there's some talk about, you know, is this a full reboot, is it not? You know, I get that, but I feel like you could kind of make an exception for this movie because it's not really established that this is in the DCEU. But the other bad thing is, the villains are just really one note, especially the main played by Susan Sarandon. You know, she's not bad in the movie, but, like, she just plays the most one-note villain, like, I think I've ever seen. At least, maybe not ever seen, but, like, I've seen in a very long time. Like, I can't tell you a single defining trait about her other than just, like, there's even a scene where a character gets kind of, like, beaten or whatever, and she literally does a little wave thing. Like, that is the most cliche mustache-twirling villain thing possible, except she's a woman, so doesn't have a mustache. But, you know what I mean. So, like, that's how generic of a villain she is. And it's also just, it's just like an Iron Man, it's just like an Ant-Man, and you're like, you have a piece of tech that I want, you know. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing in that regard. Other than that, though, I really enjoyed this movie. It's probably not going to do well at the box office, but I hope that doesn't affect, you know, cause I hope we get a sequel to the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene, see something really interesting. And I hope we see more Blue Beetle. I hope we see Blue Beetle in the DCU. Let's be real. In the end, I'm going to give Blue Beetle a 8 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on Blue Beetle. What do you guys think? Do you guys like this movie? Not like it? Have you guys seen it? Not seen it? If you haven't seen it, do you guys want to see it? Not want to see it? Anything about the movie, let me know down below. Anyways, be sure to feel like, comment, subscribe, or I will infect you. Bye!